All I did was pop this out with a screwdriver. Just find this little notch in here, like this, and lift it up, and then pop it out. As you can see, it's just plastic. If you're not careful with it, it might break, but that shouldn't be too bad. Next step is to remove this bolt. All you're going to do is just take your Allen key. I believe this is a 5mm metric. And just turn it to the left. Next step, you're going to want to undo this bolt right here, same as the other side, 5mm metric. Just turn it to the left. Alright, so all we've done so far is take out these 3 plastic pieces on the bottom and front, and 2 on the bottom of the fairing. And taking out the bolt holding the fairing on this side, and the bolt holding the fairing on the other side. And as of right now, I'm just trying to do is pull this fairing a little bit this way, just to create enough space for me to get my hands in there and to work with the oil filter and make sure the oil doesn't get all over the bottom of the fairings. Alright, all I've done now is I've placed something between the fairings to separate them a little bit. I've got a pan to catch the oil. You're going to be taking the oil drain bolt out, which is, I don't know if you guys can see it too well. Got my finger on it right there. That's your oil drain bolt. You got to take that out and then drain all the oil. Alright, all you're going to do next is loosen the oil bolt, drain bolt, and if it's too tight, it's a little trick. You just take a open box end wrench and use it as a little extra leverage to break the seal there. And then you're just going to do that. You don't want to over tighten that bolt, remember that. Once you crack it loose, it should be relatively easy to get out. And once you're draining oil, I like to hold the bike upright. Make sure that all the oil comes out. Next step, you want to make sure you have a nice clean bolt here. Clean off all the gunk and oil. Inspect your bolt, make sure the threads are good. You want to look at the bottom of the drain plug. Just want to wipe that off, clean that a little bit. Make sure you got a nice clean surface. Then what I do next, just so I don't forget, is I put the bolt right back in. Once you got the bolt in, just tighten it. And you don't want to over tighten this. That could cause some headaches. So just nice and tight, maybe just a little bit extra. Don't over tighten. Next step is going to be removing the oil filter right there behind the exhaust. This part's going to be a little bit tricky, but hopefully we'll get it done. Now once you get the oil filter off, you're going to need an oil filter wrench to take it off. It's on there pretty tight. Also, the manual says that you need an oil filter wrench to tighten it because hand tight is not good enough. Once you get that done, I want to clean off a little bit where the oil filter was. Hopefully, if you're good at this, you won't have gotten oil everywhere under here like I did. But that'll be okay. Just wipe it up, clean it off, and we'll keep going. And once you got your next oil filter out, make sure it's nice and clean. And you want to take some of the old oil, pretty standard for every kind of oil change, but get a little bit of old oil on there, help seals it up. Then also while you're doing that, you want to make sure that your other oil filter that came off still has its seal. If you get the old filter off and the other seal is still on there, you're going to have problems when you're trying to seal this one back up. You want to get your oil filter started. It's on there good and tight before you adjust it with the wrench. Once you get it on there, just take your wrench, give her a good couple snugs. Next, part you've all been waiting for, adding oil. It's a 650 2-cylinder. Calls for 2 quarts of oil with the oil change and filter change. So you add the oil right here is the oil fill, and I'm going to add probably about 1.5 quarts. I'm going to check it. I'm going to add a little bit more. There's a sight glass right here that after the engine, or after you run the engine or you idle it, shut it off, and you have the bike standing straight up. You should see oil about halfway through in your sight glass. And once you've finished adding oil, just put these bolts back in on both sides, tighten them up with your Allen key. And once you have those other bolts on the fairing tightened up, you just take these 3, just line up this bottom fairing part, just push them right through. Make sure they go through nice and tight. Alright, there's the sight glass. I've filled it with 1 3/4 quarts of oil so far. I haven't run the bike. But fill it so it's like that, run the bike, recheck it again. You want the oil level to be a little higher than that.